Previously on The Hypocrite Twins, we learned about Israel's invasion of Lebanon in 1982 to stop the PLO led by Yasser Arafat. Now we dive into the heat of the conflict, when on June 13th, Israeli tanks, other ground artillery, and boats finished circling West Beirut, the stronghold of Arafat's PLO.
So the Israeli tanks surrounded Beirut, where Yasser Arafat was, and they said, "Little piggy, come on out, or I'm gonna huff, or I'm gonna puff, and I'm gonna blow your house down." Yasser Arafat did not come out. Instead, he chose to hide among a heavy urban civilian population, like a Where's Waldo game. Where's Arafat? There's Arafat. I'm a Lebanese civilian. Murderer. Murderer.
June 14th, Israeli forces seal off Beirut air, sea, and land routes. So no people or goods in or out until Yasser Arafat comes out.
What's unique about the situation in Lebanon is that the United States, Israel's usual ally, did not approve. So when Israel cuts off supplies and bombs Beirut, the United States cries out, "Stop the unjust siege." But when they do the same thing to the Gaza Strip, the US gives a seal of approval. So if I were trapped personally in the Gaza Strip, to stay alive, I just blast Lebanese music and wave the flag. The target has been acquired. Copy, this is Yarmulke leader. You are clear to engage. I can't fire. He's Lebanese.
June 29th, Israeli Prime Minister Begin says PLO can leave with personal weapons.
If Israel's prime minister let the PLO fighters walk away with their weapons, is Israel really that brutal? I mean, American progressives won't even let you have a gun. For this upcoming presidential election, I'll just write in a candidate. Yeah, let me get some of that Israeli brutality.
July 3rd, about 50,000 Israelis attend Tel Aviv rally protesting Lebanon occupation.
Okay, so think about how many Jews around the world support the Palestinian cause. Quite a few. Now think, how many Palestinians or Lebanese Shiites around the world support the Jews? None. I rest my case.
July 4th, Israel imposes curbs on water and food supplies to West Beirut.
Gotta love the date on this. Happy 4th of July for America. But if you're in Beirut, there's also fireworks, but you can't eat. Israel tried to prevent civilian deaths by leafleting areas, letting civilians know they were about to strike terrorists in that area. Did Yasser Arafat leaflet civilians, letting them know he'd be setting up military headquarters in their neighborhood? What could go wrong with dropping leaflets right before bombs? I'm dropping leaflets to let you know about impending airstrikes that are about to kill you. And I'm leafleting to let you know that I'm resisting his airstrikes right next to you, so you might die. And I'm leafleting to let you know about Sears furniture sale. Now that your home is destroyed, come on down. Aw, you're the reason no one looks at my pamphlets.
July 11th. The largest artillery battles of the war engulf East and West Beirut as Israelis and Palestinians pound each other's position for 15 hours before a truce is called. By then, 500 buildings destroyed by Israel.
500 buildings destroyed and thousands of dead civilians. Ronald Reagan described it as a Holocaust, and he's one of the most hawkish US presidents in all of history. I guess he was worried someone else was getting all the fun. There's not gonna be any minorities left for me to slaughter. I blame Yasser Arafat. Arafat purposely dragged out the negotiations because he knew that the longer that Beirut was starved and bombed, the more of an international tragedy it was, and the West would do anything to make it stop. Oh yeah, so for the previous 12 years, Yasser Arafat and Israel have been unable to reach an agreement. But now, suddenly, Arafat must be dragging it out. Oh, okay, so Yasser Arafat isn't purposely dragging out the negotiations. But here's the PLO representative in London saying he would never give up.
But the PLO representative in London said the Palestinians are prepared to resist to the end.
Mr. Arafat will lead the battle until the victory or to die.
So the only way that Arafat isn't sentencing Lebanese civilians to death for the Palestinian cause is if he believes he can actually win, in which case his motivational speeches could use some work. You never hear anyone who thinks they're gonna win talk like that. I would hate to see the PLO representative give the speech in Braveheart.
Mr. Arafat will lead the battle until the victory or to die.
But it's a good thing Yasser Arafat is a liar, because
July 29th, PLO surrenders and agrees to U.S. deal at an Arab League meeting. This was the first public pledge to withdraw from Lebanon, but calls for limited Israeli withdrawal from around Beirut.
So you're ragging on Israel, but the strategy to get rid of the PLO worked. Come on, Israel was so bloodthirsty, they wouldn't even stop the fighting once Arafat agreed.
August 10th, American envoy Philip Habib submitted a draft agreement to Israel. Ariel Sharon, impatient with American meddling, orders a carpet bombing anyway, and 300 people die.
So the United States was about to broker a peace deal, but the Israeli defense minister, Ariel Sharon, just couldn't wait, and he ordered a carpet bombing, killing a massive amount of civilians. I noticed, though, that Ariel Sharon is the fattest slob ever, but yet when it comes to ceasefires, he just can't seem to sit still and do nothing. So he probably could have lost the weight if his personal trainer at the track started every jog by saying, "The PLO's over there."
I'm sorry, I'm an awful narrator. Why do they call it carpet bombing, exactly?
Carpet bombing is the repeated aerial assault of a region to make sure that every single spot within that region is covered like a carpet. Has your home been destroyed by a carpet bombing? Come on down and get a new carpet at Sears Home Sale. The reason a carpet bombing is done is often to prevent a high-profile target from escaping. But if there's civilians in this area, then it's a war crime, as per the Geneva Conventions. This isn't happily ever after like a Disney movie. There's consequences to Arafat hiding among a heavy urban civilian population when he's engaged in terrorism. Maybe this is a Disney movie, because just like Aladdin, Westerners think they can use the magic carpet technique and fly over Middle Eastern streets without consequences. You keep referring to Israel's brutality, but what you fail to mention is that Israel so badly wanted the siege to end and avoid the loss of lives of civilians that they were willing to let the PLO leave with their personal weapons, go wherever they wanted, and avoid prison. You want me to go to a spa with only 3 stars on Yelp? This is brutality. Oh yeah, Israel's cabinet totally approved of this civilian treatment right here.
August 12th. Israeli cabinet stripped Ariel Sharon of his power to order air or navy assaults in response to the carpet bombing.
Who would have thought? Ariel Sharon has so much in common with Yasser Arafat. Israel's cabinet condemned your violence? Me too!
August 21st. About 350 French troops arrive as an advance unit of the international force to supervise the PLO evacuation, which begins that day.
Who better to supervise a surrender than the French? Maybe they wear a feather in their hat, because like a peacock, the troops are there just for show. Now you may be wondering, if the PLO didn't go to prison, then why did Israel invade? I'll let the timeline narrator answer that one.
August 23rd. Lebanese legislature elects Christian party Bashir Gemayel president of Lebanon.
Once Israel succeeded in kicking out the foreign PLO, both America and Israel started militarily backing the Christians against the local Muslims. Come on, of course the West wants Lebanon to be Christian. The Lebanese flag looks like a Christmas tree. You're going, ho ho ho! The West respects all religions. What's that? You're Muslim? Ho! You can have coal. For Lent, you can give up food.
August 30th. After intense mediation led by the United States, Yasser Arafat and the PLO evacuate Lebanon. Some 6,000 PLO fighters go mostly to Tunisia.
Why are they celebrating when they lost? Only a Palestinian celebrates a ceasefire by shooting guns. Forget a peaceful protest. Palestinians can't even have a peaceful celebration. They say a Palestinian never runs from a fight. Maybe that's why they do so badly in track and field. When they hear the race's starter pistol go off, they stick around hoping to get shot. The United States originally sent Marines into Lebanon under the excuse of supervising the foreign PLO to leave. But once the PLO left, America stayed, and their boat, the USS Jersey, started shelling local Muslims to back the Christians.
September 14th, Christian President-elect Bashir Gemayel.
But at first the United States didn't think they needed to use violence because they thought that their puppet could do it through the political process, despite majority Muslims. What could go wrong?
Is assassinated in a bombing.
This situation is ridiculous that within a week, the democratically elected leader is assassinated. Yeah, a bombing. I guess he left Democratic office the same way he got in. In fact, when he was murdered was the only time he ever put himself in the shoes of Muslim voters. You imbecile, it was a Syrian that killed him. Well, someone should have told that to the Christians before.
To get revenge for the death of their president, Christian militiamen kill 2,000 to 3,000 Palestinian civilians still in Lebanon at the Sabra and Shatila refugee camps. Controversy sparks over Israel's role in this.
So the United States brokered a peace deal where the PLO agreed to leave Lebanon if in return Israel and America would protect the Palestinian civilians still there that the PLO previously had been protecting. Instead of following this, Israel escorted their Christian militia allies into the refugee camps to slaughter thousands of them, not only aiding in mass murder, but lying about the agreement. It's awfully ironic that a Jewish state has to defend itself by breaking Judaism. Death to those who oppose the 10 Commandments. Are we willing to lie about it? We are. We will not tolerate peaceful protest to the 10 Commandments. What if they only follow the 10 Commandments in theory, but in practice, they've created a new one? Yeah, that's fine. We love Christians.
June 10th, 1985. The Israeli army finishes withdrawing out of most of Lebanon, but keeps a smaller occupation zone along the Lebanon-Israeli border.
So Israel invaded Lebanon with the sole purpose of getting the PLO out. When the PLO agreed to leave, if in return Israel would also leave Lebanon under an internationally brokered deal, Israel stayed for another 2 years and 9 months after the PLO left. The Palestinians must be looking at the Lebanese like, your occupation was under 3 years? Ha! You got off easy. Lebanon in 1982 would fall under the category of a failed state because nobody was clearly in charge. No one could prosecute these criminal terrorists from launching rockets into Israel. I find it interesting how progressives in America don't want borders, walls, or fences, but yet cry out, how could you not respect Lebanon's borders? In that case, the Israeli troops should have told the American press, no estamos ocupando soldados, eran inmigrantes que ci agachan el trabajo de día. Israel violated the terms of the international agreement by continuing the occupation long after the PLO left. Israel's like the Chris Brown of the Middle East, and Palestine and Lebanon are both sides of Rihanna's face. But according to you, Israel isn't brutal, because they let the PLO leave with their personal weapons.
In this episode, we learn the events leading up to the Sabra and Shatila massacres. In the next episode, we'll debate if America and Israel bear any blame for these events.